We often show our worst to the people we love the most. Our social skills are buttoned up and polished outside of the home, but inside the home, we tend to let loose. But maybe we should try a little more. My next guest wants to remind you to keep trying every day. Studio 5 relationship contributor Dr. Matt Townsend believes there are a few basic relationship rules you should always follow with strangers and your spouse. Welcome, Dr. Matt.
Good to be here, Dalen.
So happy to have you. I'm excited to jump right in. There are some basic communication skills that we should work hard to develop.
Yeah.
What benefits do you see our relationships have when we intentionally try those skills and communicate?
You know, it's super cool. It's called attuning. We start to get better and better at reading each other, and we're more in sync. Actually, our brains even pair with each other, and we can share our emotion easier. So just a little intentionality, a little focus on communication actually makes it faster, better. You can get away with having to say less because you actually can already read more in each other. There's power, but it takes, it's like dialing in like an instrument or dialing in something that's really special that you've worked with so much that it kind of starts to fit your hand, it starts to fit your life. That's what communication and relationships, what communication can do to our relationships.
Sometimes I feel like when we're in those situations, it's kind of can be word vomit. And it comes back to like, just think before you speak.
That's right.
Tuning it in, making sure that your words, they have meaning. And
just
chill out. Just chill out.
Just relax, enjoy it.
I feel like your first rule applies to that. It says just have empathy, right?
Yeah.
We got to be empathetic.
Yeah. When you're actually like hanging out talking to somebody, what a lot of times we're doing is just dueling monologues. You say your bit, I say my bit, you say your bit, and I'm just always like thinking about what my next bit's going to be. But empathy is very simply this. This is the definition. Empathy is when you care more about the other's feelings than you do about your own opinion.
No.
So you're actually listening for their feeling, and you're trying to actually dial into the feeling. Here's the power why. The minute I know your feeling, you're way more likely to listen to what I have to say. So the minute you know I care, then you actually want to know what I know, right? But until you're feeling some caring there, you're not wanting it. So empathy over explanation. A lot of us are immediately trying to explain something. Like if we promised our wife we'd be home at 6 o'clock and we got home at 7, we don't empathize with her position because it makes us feel bad, I guess. But what the sad thing is that we start just explaining, and our explanation doesn't eliminate her emotion or handle her emotion. So by empathizing, we're actually going to deal with the emotion first. We're going to take care of the child first. We're going to care about what they feel before we give them the great big lecture that every parent loves to give.
We all love to give. And it makes it about us versus making it about them.
And it literally builds the willingness for them to now listen. If you're trying to speak before you've built or earned the right to speak to them, you don't have a right to speak just because you're the parent. If on an emotional issue, you earn the right to speak when you manage the emotion effectively. That's how you earn the right to then have the power to say something that they'll want to follow. They're not going to want to follow you. Even if you're right, they're not going to want to follow you.
It's so hard because I hear what you're saying, and in the moment, right now, I'm like, oh, that seems so simple. In the moment, it's so hard.
Part of it, why? Why is it so hard? For everybody.
Right.
Because we're already on an autopilot habit. We're already automatically doing something instead of just slowing down, chilling, and getting in the moment.
And getting in the moment, being empathetic. Next, you want us to stop blaming and start claiming.
Claim your baggage. A lot of times what we do is we don't claim our baggage, we blame our partner's baggage. I can't tell you how many times I sit down with couples where what we're trying to do is fix one of them and their messed up patterns and behavior, right? But meanwhile, we're in a system where we both have baggage. And again, this kind of goes back to that earning thing. If you really want power to talk to your partner about their problem, you first have to own yours. And the cool thing about knowing what your baggage is, knowing why you react, knowing why you're always having to control, knowing why you're always so anxious, knowing why you have a hard time being safe and attaching. If you can know some of that stuff and claim it in the conversation, then what you literally do is you take it off the table. You're like an attorney who has a guilty client, and instead of letting the other attorney bring out all the issues that they're guilty of, it's the attorney putting them on the table. Look, my client's not perfect. My client's made mistakes. Da, 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 da. And we get them out on the table.
Yeah.
And once our baggage is claimed, then we have the power with another to talk about theirs. But a lot of times we do it in reverse order. Let's start with your baggage.
Yeah.
Let's start with how messed up you are.
Or when you're listening to something or listening or reading a study or talking about, and you're like, oh, well, I know someone who could use this.
Exactly.
I know someone who probably needs this. But really, it's about reflecting, owning what's yours.
That's right.
And then it makes it so much easier to be able to see the other person.
Because you know what they'll say instantly if you don't? They'll say, well, the minute you've cornered them on their baggage, they're going to pull out yours. So once we've already pulled it out, and expose it and even explained it better than they ever could.
Yeah.
And not justifying it, not excusing it. It is what it is, and I need to do better at that.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about how you come here an hour late.
When you, but when you claim yours, doesn't it make it easier for them to claim theirs?
Yep.
Yeah.
You've just kind of normalized just being human.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like becoming the superior in the room.
Okay, this is interesting. You want us to add some color commentary to make feelings more understandable. What does that mean?
This is a little kind of male.
Okay.
Any guy that's ever watched a football game knows that there's a play-by-play announcer, and the play-by-play announcer says exactly what's going on, like linearly, whatever's happening in the game.
Yeah.
Then there's what they call the color commentary, who then gives more detail and say, that wasn't just a 40-yard pass, that was a 40-yard pass across the field, leaning back while being chased. Which hasn't happened very often, and then they can give the stats and they can explain how hard that is. A lot of times when we're talking to somebody, we just talk on the lines and we never explain the nuance. For example, just a very average or obvious example. A woman's talking about her feelings to her husband, an accountant. And the accountant is not quite getting why this matters or why this is a big issue.
Right.
Because no one died, we're all fine. Yeah, but you didn't have to drive that way. What if we could learn in our conversations as the speaker to take some responsibility to maybe understand my audience better and then try to create ways that they can understand what I'm saying better by using their language, by using their metaphors. A fun example that I like to do is I like to use numbers.
Okay.
When people have emotions, like, oh my heavens, I've had the worst day ever.
Yeah.
When somebody says that, their partner might be like, really?
Yeah.
You were in labor for 42 hours to bring 2 twins to this earth. That seemed like the worst day ever.
Right.
And now you're using this language.
Yeah.
We have to use a lot of big language like that because a lot of us aren't listening.
Yeah.
So we use this extreme language. But what we might want to do more is like, oh my heavens, on a scale of 1 to 10, this day for me is like a 9.5 of hard.
Only thing worse, childbirth.
Only thing worse was that day on childbirth. The minute we put it in some context with a metric, it's a lot easier. Or, hey, I don't know if I want to go to Chinese food or Mexican food tonight. That's just really unclear to us. What we could say is, okay, scale 1 to 100, where are you? Or percentage, 70% Chinese, 50, whatever, what's your percentages?
Yeah.
And then giving me the percentage makes it a little easier for me to start to get some more understanding about what your emotional language means.
And it helps you be on the same page, right? It gives us that practicality. Dr. Matt, this is so good. Tell us more about the Becoming One program.
Every week on Friday, I sit down and I do a call with hundreds of people that are in this Becoming One program, and you can ask any questions. I coach people. We sit down and really solve problems with people online, and then you can go back and access all of the calls. It's just a really inexpensive way to get coaching every week and to kind of work in a community where we're all trying to become better.
So good. Become one with Dr. Matt.
Townsend.com.